What was that? Welcome to the Cayman's Island podcast, where we talk all things San Francisco 49ers. I'm your host, David Cayman. And in today's show, we're going to discuss the disheartening 26-15 loss against the Houston Texans, faithful. There's not a lot of positives to draw out of this game at all. In fact, I only have one positive, and we'll get to that toward the end. But I really feel like this is a game where we were exposed with our injury situation. I don't believe in luck. I don't do luck. I don't think anything at all happens by happenstance. And what I would say is that the injury situation, the depth issues that we have, the rookies that we have, all of it came to roost in this particular game where everything got caught up to us at once. And I'm not going to sit up here and say that we quit or gave up. I just think it was one of those games where come the fourth quarter, you could see it on faces. You could see it on body languages and countenances that we weren't pulling this one out. I know that on offense, we had, toward the end of the game, we had a few chances where we could have possibly had a break here or there and made it a closer game. But the reality is, man, we got outplayed at all three levels. All of our weaknesses, all of the things that we struggle with were exposed badly in this game. I hate to say it because this is a scenario where I did not want to be. If you happen to take a look at the preview show, I had made the call for the fact that I really felt like Houston was going to win this game anyway. It's funny because I thought it was going to be this amazing Eddie Pinheiro show, which the poor man only had an opportunity to kick one extra point. So that's tough in and of itself. But let's jump into this, man, and just go over these stats here. You got the Texans with 475 total yards. Obviously for them, that was a season high. And I said it in a previous show, man, if we gave CJ Stroud enough time in the pocket, this is a guy with all the tools, arm strength, smarts, speed, to make us look absolutely silly. And that man showed up and reminded us just who he is. And he was throwing to some guys, I have to be honest with you, Xavier Hutchinson, career high 69 yards and a touchdown. I didn't even recognize that dude was even in the NFL, if I could be transparent with you. Yeah, we got exposed across the board. So they had the time of possession, 41 minutes and 22 seconds. Guys, that's over 2/3 of the game clock in this particular game. 9 of 16 on third downs. And that really doesn't tell the tale because they converted multiple long third downs. It almost felt like toward the end of the game that Houston could just goof around on first and second down running the ball, and third and long was almost a guaranteed first down for them in this game. We struggled to sustain drives. We struggled to get off the field. It was definitely the most disheartening loss of the season thus far, and it's not even close. In fact, I would say that if you look at the stats in this one, we were annihilated in this game. I'm very surprised that we only gave up the amount of points that we did. As far as the Niners stats, you got Mac Jones, 19 of 32, 193 yards, 2 touchdowns. I guess he really took the whole National Tight Ends Day to heart, getting both George Kittle, who was covered very well on the play right before halftime where he caught the touchdown, and then Jake Tonjes getting a touchdown reception in this game, which I feel like, in a way, I think that pass could have gone either to Tonjes or Kittle in the back of the end zone on that one. And so as far as the Texans, CJ Stroud, man, 30 for 39, 318 yards, 2 touchdowns. hitting 9 different receivers. It was just, this was one of those games where the Niners weren't pulling off any late game heroics or late game magic. We took this one absolutely on the chin. And I feel as though the area that we all dreaded that was coming in this particular contest reared its ugly head once again, with you seeing Alfred Collins go out of the game with what appeared to be an elbow injury. I know Alfred came back, and that's good and great and all. Sam Okwuonu getting injured, man. Jordan Elliott. I'm by no stretch of the imagination a mathematician, but I'm confident if we continue to lose 3 starters and we continue just to lose 3 players at the rate we're going, we won't even be able to field a team come week 15 if this continues to happen, guys. And at this point, I feel you got to be responsible here. If you're the front office, if you're John Lynch, you're Jed York, you're the person making all these money decisions, you're meeting with Kyle Shanahan, you're having these conversations, and it's, if you could add 3 players at the trade deadline, would it even matter? Would it even make enough of a difference to pull the trigger on that at this point? I'm not talking about the record. Okay, I'm not talking about the record. 5-3 is not at all terrible. And time heals all wounds. The thing that I was going to tell you guys is that bright spot of this particular game is that time will not stand still. We will play another game at MetLife Stadium. And if we get a win, boom, we're on to talking about how the Niners won a game that we needed to get, and we're headed back to play the Rams at home, and maybe we'll have Brock and Pearsall. We talk about all the possibilities and having good feelings and emotions about all that. I would say let's not focus too far in the future. Let's look at what we have right now. And that's a scenario where we are too hurt right now to really do much of anything. If you imagine, if at the rate we're going, we get to the playoffs doing what we're doing, we're one and done, guys. There's no team in which we'll be able to, there's no realistic playoff team that we're going to be able to sit up here and give all day to hold the ball and pick our secondary apart. Do you really want to go to the playoffs against the Detroit Lions with the injuries we have on defense? Do you want to go to the playoffs again and play a Tampa Bay? You want to see Tampa Bay again? That would be rough, right? What would Bake Show do with more of his weapons this time around in that game, in that contest? What would the Philadelphia Eagles do in the trenches and on both sides of the line of scrimmage? I think if I'm the Eagles and I'm playing the 49ers, I might tush-push every play the whole game. That's just where we're at right now. So you look at what the front office must be thinking right now. Do you give away assets for, let's say, 2 players that give you decent return? Even decent return. Is that enough to make a difference on this particular team in this particular season? I'm not saying fold, throw in the towel. I don't believe in all that. I say you play hard, you play every down, you do absolutely what you can. But if you do not have a perfect marriage or a perfect scenario, don't give up the draft capital. In fact, it's funny because I would feel better if we just said, hey, Cincinnati, here is our 2nd round pick for Trey Hendrickson. We tend to not do so great at the beginning of the draft picking anyway. We really find our studs in 3rd, 4th, and 5th round anyway. But again, that Trey Hendrickson walking through that door would have not changed what happened to San Francisco yesterday at NRG Stadium at all. One player would have not made the difference. Guys, we have, unfortunately, gaping holes all over the place. Now, I'll say this, and this is why you don't throw in the towel. Let's just say you could fast forward to week 1 of the postseason. If the Niners can pull out this game against the Giants and they can pull out the game against the Rams and we get healthy heading into the playoffs, again, anything that can happen. You never know, right? We could roll into a scenario where we're playing just for example, at Raymond James Stadium again, and there's a significant injury and we're finally healthy once. So you never know what happens in one single game scenario. Anything can happen. So you definitely want to make the dance. And if we're healthy, who knows? But the reality is, when it comes to this trade deadline, it has to be more than one player at this point. I could name 4 or 5 areas in which the Niners could use some help. Okay, maybe Ben Barch comes back and he's healthy. I'm not a huge fan of Jake Brendel, but there were a few plays, man, on yesterday as woof. I miss you, Jake. I'm sorry. Forgive me for what I said on a couple of those plays. All around the defensive line, we're just decimated. Bryce Huff will come back this season. Perhaps we can pull something out. I feel like we pulled out a rabbit out of a hat situation the first time around when we beat the Rams. We should, for all intents and purposes, be healthier when we face the Rams again and we're at home. I think it's really just I really feel like it's just getting through the Giants. If we can beat the Giants, maybe the front office will try to make a move, but I wouldn't hold out any type of hope for some type of huge name, something that's going to make us give away a ton of draft capital in this one, guys. We have to start facing the reality that if you were going to bet the farm, if you were betting the whole farm, do you feel like if healthy, now what I mean by if healthy, I don't mean Fred Warner's not walking through that door this year, guys. Nick Bosa is not coming back. I'm not talking about the season-ending injuries. I'm speaking specifically from the standpoint that if we get back a Bryce Huff, I'm not even sure. Just to be honest with you guys, I've needed a bit of a break from the NFL world news today. So I'm not even sure where Sam Okwuonu stands as far as how severe his injury is. But let's just say come the end of the year, we're staring at a 10-7 record. We have a wild card. If we get everybody back, you're talking about Huff, you're talking about Okwuonu, you're talking about Ben Barch, you're talking about Ricky Pearsall. I think Brock Purdy will definitely help for sure. But even with all that, are we beating a Philly in Philly? Are we beating a Detroit Lions in Detroit with the team we have? Are we beating the Detroit Lions in Detroit with Trey Hendrickson? And I think that's just the reality of where we're at and where we need to be. Now again, come next week, we beat, I don't even care the score. As long as we pull out a win against the Giants, who are 2-6, it's on the road, MetLife Stadium. You know how those field conditions are at MetLife Stadium. It's honestly where Niners go to end their season most of the time. You sit back, and I don't mean to be gloom and doom. I don't, but is this CMC's week where he gets injured? Is this Mac Jones week where if you look at our team, fast forward heading into next year, what are our most valuable assets for trade? I think you definitely have to consider Mac Jones one of those assets. And is this a game where we don't hold up whatsoever and somebody comes right in on that turf and hurts Mac, or CMC gets his leg stuck in the ground? Again, I'm not speaking that over the team. I'm not putting that out there or anything like that. But if we're looking ourselves in the mirror, faithful, as 49er fans, we have to start saying to ourselves, who's it going to be this week? Who's the next player that's going to get injured? I feel like something has to be done. Something has to be investigated within the organization of the 49ers, man, to figure out why so many players of ours are down with these soft tissue injuries. It's like nothing I've ever seen. And being basically a lifelong San Francisco 49ers fan, we've dealt with these injuries year after year since Kyle has been at the helm of coaching this football team. And I like Kyle Shanahan. I think he's a brilliant offensive mind. But man, when he has his mind set on something, a player or a member of staff, man, it's almost like my man Kyle has blinders on to this stuff. I never want anyone to lose their situation. I never want anyone to lose their job. In fact, my prayer is that everybody's blessed and successful and thrives. And so I'm not going to sit up here and say that somebody needs to necessarily lose their job. But the reality is that if you have a job, I have a job. I do multiple things. And if I'm in a situation where I'm not getting it done or I'm not making the cut, hard conversations have to be held or had rather. And so I look at it at that there has to be some form of accountability, some sort of responsibility here. This is not just a bad luck thing anymore, guys. This is not a situation where all of our players are out for the season with torn ACLs or broken legs. This is almost an average of 2 to 3 players per game that we're losing for calf injuries, hamstring injuries. And something definitely needs to be done. Something definitely needs to be investigated with the higher-ups at the organization. And maybe this game will be a wake-up call and a reality check. When you're going in just a few weeks from, we're absolutely going to look at everything that's out there to make a push toward a possible championship at XYZ, and now you're just trying to pick up practice squad players to field an NFL football team. All that money, all that investment from the York family, if it's my money, and it's not, nor will it ever will be, but if it's my money, I designate some of those financial resources to making sure that player health and safety is at the top of mind, especially with what the Niners have gone through for the last several years. Tell me what you guys think in the comments. I'm trying to think of some positives, guys, to hit you with. Jordan Watkins got his first catch in an NFL game. I'm not even sure if that's good news or just a talking point at this moment, but it's behind us. It's gone. It's looking forward to playing the Giants. I feel absolutely just gutted, man, for Scatabo having that ankle injury. I like that guy. I like the way he runs. It's terrible to see that him getting hurt. And don't get me wrong, I didn't want him to have a breakout or superstar game against the Niners this Sunday or anything like that. But you never want a young player like that, man, to get hurt. Of all teams, the Niners know how that feels for sure. So again, guys, if you like the show, if you enjoy what you saw today, please remember to like and subscribe because it really does help out the channel a lot. As always, leave your thoughts, suggestions, comments. Always looking forward to reading those and seeing those. You guys take care and be blessed, faithful.